Hello, welcome to CashFlow Hack. I'm your host, Chris, and with me today is my co-host, Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. I am so happy to be here. And just like you all, I am ready to make more, save more, and start living more now.
All right, and you are in the right place. Every week, Stephanie and I will be discussing different tips and strategies, or just keep you in the loop with different topics that your financial advisor doesn't want you to know. And why are we doing this? Because the less you know, the more they make. And we want you to flip that script.
Right. So this week we're going to be talking about a subject that downright scared me at first. Debt millionaire, utilizing debt to make money. When I think of debt, I think of the stress and panic and all of that nonsense that's associated with it. I think about the time after my divorce when I had to use debt just to get by. I think about scarcity. I mean, all I wanted to do was get out of debt and honestly just stay the hell away from it. And can anybody out there listening relate to that? Well, if you can, you, like me, are in for a great surprise because Chris is going to share with you today something that she shared with me, and it absolutely helped me flip the script on my mindset. And that is how to use your debt to your advantage.
All right. Are you confused when it comes to debt like Stephanie? Have you heard some gurus tell you that all debt is bad? You want to get out of debt and you want to make sure you stay out of it. And other gurus that tell you to use debt to become rich. I know a lot of people probably asking themselves, if they're both saying something that's contradictory, which one is right or what is the right way? How can both of them be correct? Well, you know what? Actually, it depends on who you are. That is, how you think of money, how you manage your money. If you're careful at managing what you already have, then you're probably going to need to do some work on your mindset before taking advantage of this strategy. I don't want to make everybody think that they can go out there and get in debt and they're going to get rich, because it's not the way it works. Let's just look at this together. What if everything that you've ever been taught about investing is wrong? And because of the way you thought about it, that your approach to investing is all wrong. Have you ever wondered what the wealthy know that the majority of people don't? Are they playing this money game with a different set of rules? Think about it. What have you been told about debt?
Get out of debt and stay out of debt.
Oh, all right. And the reason for that is because most people, they don't know how to handle debt or credit, shall I say. And why is that? First of all, we were sent out in this world, and we were never taught about money in general. And our country is run off of debt, and the more debt you have, the better it is for the financial institutions.
Right. It was very interesting to me when I first came back to the United States from Greece back in 2008. I was actually shocked on how debit, credit focused everyone in this country is. In Greece, we paid for everything in cash. I mean, if we didn't have the cash for it, we didn't buy it. We paid for everything that way. And when I came back after living there for so long, I was kind of treated like a pariah with that mindset. I had cash to pay for everything, but that didn't even matter because I had no credit. A credit score of 0, by the way, is actually worse than a bad credit score. I had to pay so many months up front to rent an apartment. And I was denied at a lot of places because of my 0 credit score. And then I had to put up I think it was $1,000 to turn on the electric, another $1,000 to turn on the heat. And I had moved to Chicago in the beginning of January. So obviously it was very important for me to turn on my heat, right? Looking back, I think I spent $20,000 that first few weeks that I was in the country. And nobody cared that I had the money to pay that. All they cared was that I didn't have good credit, that I didn't have any credit. And so I had to start out with little credit cards at stores to kind of build up my credit. And I always felt like they want to keep you stuck in a trap of living off of this credit, because for me it was weird. It was okay, if you have cash to pay for everything, it's not a good thing. But if you use too much of the credit, it's a bad thing. It's kind of setting you up for failure in my mind anyway. But I didn't want the card. I didn't want to buy things that I didn't have the cash for. I kind of felt like I had to get them to live. in this country, and like to get good rates on my car insurance. Now I don't pay attention to my credit score, and I probably should, but I can tell you that it really sucked when I didn't have a score at all.
That's interesting, Stephanie. I've heard so many stories like that, and one of my buddies, she moved here, and we're telling you these stories because maybe you can relate to them. But I had a friend who moved here from Korea, and it was the same thing. Like you said, they paid cash for everything. They didn't live off of credit like we are. We're taught to live off of credit because our country lives off credit. And
Exactly.
and so basically what I like to teach people is like how to use it to our benefit instead of against us, because it actually has been designed to work against us. And when she first got here, every store she went into, they offered her a credit card, which, she didn't take all the credit cards, but she thought it was pretty interesting. However, when her water heater broke, she went to Sears and they offered her a card. And then they told her, well, if you take this card, we'll give you a discount. So, she thought that was pretty cool. She went ahead and got the credit card. And her first experience with a credit card, it was terrible. I felt so bad for her because when she got her bill, she only was supposed to pay $15. So that's all she paid. She thought that was the coolest thing. However, she thought that every $15 she paid was bringing down the debt of her water heater. Instead, she found out the hard way that her new 29.8% credit card was all her $15 was only paying interest. It wasn't paying anything on the water heater.
I know, and that sounds so crazy to people, but if you didn't grow up with credit cards, and in your society credit cards are not common, you don't know these things. Actually, there are people here that don't know how the credit card interest rates work. But yeah, some people might be like, how could she not know that? It's because they're not like ubiquitous in other countries the way they are here.
Right. Well, we don't understand how credit works against us. We don't understand how the interest rates work against us. And I'm telling you, most people that I talk to could not tell me what the interest rate is on their credit cards. Which, you're saying you come from out of the country, but the majority of people don't really understand how it works until they've had a bad experience with it. But this is an example of bad debt. It's not the kind of debt that gets you closer to financial freedom. It's not what's going to make you become a debt millionaire. This kind of debt, it makes you want to avoid debt, like you said, because it hurts. But Stephanie, I know that you're a numbers girl, and I know that there's more people like you that are probably listening to us. So why don't you just share some stats, since I know you like to do that.
Yes, I do. I'm always the one on this podcast sharing the numbers, right, and the statistics. So can I like it? So the top 1% of U.S. households hold 15 times more wealth than the bottom 50% combined. And they got there using good debt. That's why we're trying to share with you the difference, about debt, because it can be good, right? So, Chris, tell us a little bit more about how it can be good.
Well, the wealthy are using completely legal and loopholes and strategies that position them to build wealth easily. When I discovered this, I was so amazed. Because when I say easily, I mean they're making money off of other people's money, the bank's money, to create wealth or financial freedom for them. And one thing that a lot of people need to understand is that to be able to do this, to be able to create this financial freedom for yourself, you're going to have to do opposite of everything you've ever been taught and all the things that you now believe about money. Because the ultra wealthy know and use, I don't know, you probably have heard of this, Stephanie, but the CashFlow quadrant. Robert Kiyosaki, do you know, have you heard of that before?
Yeah. It's been a while, but I read his book, The Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's very, very interesting. He says that there are, these quadrants, there's, 4 sides, and he has the left and the right side, the paying side and the receiving side. On the paying side are employees and the self-employed. Now, I love talking to self-employed people because they're always saying that they're business owners. I'm a business owner. I have my own business. I work for myself. But in reality, something that Robert Kiyosaki said, which is so very true, is that if you're self-employed, you don't really own a business. A business is a system. A business works without you. What they own is a job. Because if you think about it, like if a dentist doesn't show up for work, he doesn't get paid, right? He might have his own dental office, but if he doesn't show up, there's no work being done, so he doesn't get paid. So he owns his job. He's his own boss, but he's not a business owner. Now, on the receiving side, on the other side, is the investor, right? Obviously, if you're investing your money, you don't have to work to get that. And then the business owner who, if they can leave their business for, let's say, 6 months at a time, and the business is still running and still bringing in the same revenue, then you're a business owner. And, on that side, you are on the receiving side. So I thought that was really interesting from his book.
Wow, Stephanie. I mean, the way you say it is kind of, I don't know, I feel like I'm a business owner. But the way you are.
You are. You absolutely are.
The way you say it makes it seem like, and you know what, in the beginning when I started my own business, you're right. It's like I did own a job, because I think sometimes in entrepreneurs, we work harder on our own business than we do even at a job.
Oh my gosh, I saw this meme. Chris, I have to tell you about this meme I saw. It said, I couldn't stand working 9 to 5 for a boss. So now I work 24/7 for myself.
It's funny because that is true. However, doing that or actually starting that is what has helped me to become a business owner, a real business owner, where I can leave and be able to work when I want to work and go on vacation when I want to go on vacation. And
like your trip to France and your trip to South Africa.
Well, and that's why I just want to help other people, because it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier than we think. And you're talking about we're talking about that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That book is what helped me to move past just saving. That's what I did. I was a great saver, but I didn't know exactly how to make my money work for me the way I wanted to. I did know that from reading it, I didn't want to be an employee anymore, because the employees and the self-employed, like you said, they're negatively affected by, because they're on the paying side. They're paying more in inflation. They're paying more interest. They're paying more taxes. And then the cost of losing opportunity. I just decided that was not the side I wanted to be on, because I was reading how the wealthy people, or these business owners, they were actually making money. When other people were losing, they were making money. So it was like, when they win some, they're winning all the time. It's like whether the market's going up or down, they're always doing well. And that's where I wanted to be. I just want to make sure that I was in a safe spot, and that's where I wanted to be. I wanted to be affected positively by these things that we see happening right now, to our friends, to people in the world today, because of inflation and the interest rates. Look at the interest rates, and to me it's kind of a game, because a game for the financial industry and the government and the feds. It's like inflation goes up, interest rates go up. I mean, they use it to play each other, right? Like, we want to bring the inflation down, so we put the interest rates up, or we want to start making, we want to bring more money to the economy, so we bring the interest rates down so we can start selling houses. But being on the right side, right, being on the right side, on the receiving side, is where we want to be, and start making the financial system work for us instead of against us. And I can't wait, because we're going to actually talk about how our whole system works against us, so that we can help people avoid some of those pitfalls. Not now, but I do want to we're going to do a podcast on it. Okay.
Right. Yeah. And another point is that people on the right side typically have a lot more liquidity, right? They have more capital available to use when needed. And I know, Chris, you always talk about something called the opportunity account, or the WCA, the Wealth Coordinating Account, but like having that ability to access money when a great opportunity shows up really enables them to invest in the best opportunities, right? Because I mean, if the most fantastic opportunity walked across your desk and you didn't have the money to take advantage of it, you'd be stuck. And so having access to funds helps create more cash flow and build your net worth faster. So the $1 million question is, though, right, that I think everybody that's listening is asking, it's something that I asked, is how can we get onto the right side of the quadrant?
Well, I say one of the fastest ways to move to the right side of the quadrant is to start making money like the banks do, by leveraging debt to buy more assets. Loans can be good debt and tax-free. And an example I want to share, this specific example, because it's so doable for the average person, not just the wealthy. A couple of years ago, I still have the life insurance policy, but this example or experience happened a couple of years ago. So I have this life insurance policy that's a cash value life insurance partner, cash value life insurance policy that I have on my business partner. And I decided I want to borrow against it to take advantage of a real estate opportunity that I found, which, you know, I was able to borrow that money. I only had it for a few months and I made $60,000. So when I talk about opportunity cost, I mean, if I didn't have that cash available to take advantage of this real estate opportunity, that opportunity would have cost me $60,000. So
yeah, you would have lost $60,000 from that. Oh my gosh!
I would have I would have not had it, right? I would have missed out on that opportunity. So that is one way of being able to use debt, even though it was my own. I borrowed from my own self basically to do this, but I was charged interest, so there was that taking on some debt to be able to create $60,000 in just a few months.
You did get interest, but I think that you told me when you had mentioned that story to me before, because you have told me that great story before, but didn't you tell me like it was tax-free or something? How are they tax-free?
Well, when you get a loan that has to be paid back, it doesn't count as income. And by using assets as collateral for loans, you don't have to pay tax on it. And since millions can be accessed without producing income, no income tax. Versus if you sold the asset and then you'd have to pay the capital gains tax on that. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. It's very interesting, but I got to tell you, Chris, you know, years and years of belief and drilling into our brains. Can you explain just a little bit more for us wary about debt people? I mean, it sounds good, but like it kind of goes against everything we've heard. So can you give us a little bit more detail?
Well, like I mentioned before, there is good debt and there is bad debt. So what you're afraid of, or what people, you know, that have been through situations like yourself are afraid of, is because they've been hurt by bad debt. They didn't understand how the interest worked. They didn't understand that when we're spending debt, when we're using credit, we should be using it on something that is not just for immediate gratification. That is what you call bad debt. Once it's gone, it's gone. If you use it to buy liabilities, that means it's costing you money and you're not getting anything back. And the credit card is a great example, you know, of these cards that you get from the stores. They allow people to spend money that they don't have and buy things that they can't afford.
Well, can I just interject just real quick though? It's also not just cards that are pushing, saying, oh, you get a discount today if you sign up for our cards, but it's also a lot of cards showing up in college, what are they called?
Campuses,
thank you. And pushing cards on college kids that have just taken out tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt to go to school and giving them away free pizzas and T-shirts. Like, it's very pushed in this country that you've got to start using debt. And it's not necessarily just about people buying things that they can't afford, but kind of like being shoved into this lifestyle of like, that's just the way it is.
Right.
That
Well,
I think is interesting.
What you're saying is so true. I mean, when I went to college, just a local community college, when I was 18, 19 years old, I remember that was the thing. They had these tables of all these different credit card companies offering credit cards. And I didn't really, I mean, my dad was very into saving and not using credit cards. And so, but you're right about that, them coming to the campuses. My experience that taught me, I almost think that people need to have one bad experience with credit card debt. And, I mean, just so that they can understand, like, you don't want to do that. That's not a good thing to do. If you can use debt to turn around and make more money than it cost you, then that's good debt. It puts money into your pocket, and it does that in several ways. If you're using real estate, for example, it's appreciating. So not only is it making you money, if it's a rental property, you're making cash flow, but it also is appreciating, which then you can borrow against it to buy more property. So it really is. It's funny, and this just keeps coming to my head, and I have to tell you about my experience with credit cards. It wasn't even that they gave me a credit card, and it was about procrastinating and being. So I was living by myself, and I needed a vacuum cleaner, and I could have went to Walmart, Kmart, whatever was around. I could have went and bought me a nice little vacuum for $50, $100 at the time. Well, guess who came to my house? The Kirby man. The Kirby man. The Kirby man came to my house, and he vacuumed for me. I mean, he got me right at the right time. You know, I needed a vacuum, and I ended up buying this vacuum for over $2,000, and and then they gave me my payment plan. Of course, I didn't tell my dad, who was totally against this kind of stuff. But I was living, on my own. So, but anyways, it was funny because I told him about my new vacuum, and he was just like, "Oh my goodness!" He said, "How much are you paying for that?" And I told him what my payment was, and he's like, "You need to go down to the curb because I have the money in my account to go and buy me, and even buy that vacuum." But I didn't want to spend $2,000 on a vacuum. Making payments was fine. I don't know, when we're young, we think we know everything, but usually it ends up costing us money. I went down there to the Kirby store to pay for it, and the interest rate was like 29% interest, and I couldn't believe that. I mean, it was probably they give credit to anybody, but they'll just charge you for it, and that is the thing that people don't know about. So just be careful out there when you're accumulating debt. Try to make sure that it's good debt, and just know that when it is good debt, it's going to be making you money, and you can use it. You can leverage it later.
Right. You can do what the wealthy do: leverage their assets.
Absolutely right. You can take money out of the real estate, and doing that is non-taxable. Not only is it non-taxable, but in most circumstances, the interest expenses can offset the income from the real estate, which could provide additional tax advantages. Another thing is the cost of this kind of borrowing can be much less expensive over time than the cost of taxation on if you were to just sell that property.
So the goal is access your investments while avoiding the tax burden that comes from selling the appreciated assets, right? So you're keeping your assets and you're not paying taxes. Is that right?
Right. So using good debt or knowing that good debt is well-structured leverage. And anybody that has assets can take advantage of this debt strategy. That is, if they trust themselves to use it properly and use it to buy more assets. Doing this can truly help you as a person, as an American, to stop being a slave to the system that has been rigged against you. Learn how to use good debt to your advantage.
Yeah, what I love about this strategy is, it's something for me that's really exciting, is that you don't have to wait like 30 plus years to start enjoying life. And if financial freedom in 3 to 7 years is what you're looking for, because it's what I'm looking for, right? We got to work smarter, not harder.
Yep, and utilizing good debt is a great strategy, Stephanie. It is really the biggest way that I was able to reach financial freedom. And it's great when you get to work because you want to and not because you have to.
You and I work all the time anyway, but yes, it's a great thing.
Yes, but it's because we love what we do. It is so cool to be able to show people how to do this easily.
Right. You're absolutely right. Well, thank you, Chris, for sharing about good debt versus bad debt, because, I mean, for everybody listening, just so you guys know, Chris kicks me in the butt about this because it's just like, one of those triggers. As she mentioned in the beginning, it's the mindset. And I'm there with you guys on that, and I just look towards Chris like, okay, that's where I want to be. So I hope that you learned a lot like I did, and then all of your questions were answered. I did kind of bring up all the questions that I had, but if you do have any additional questions, we want to hear from you. We want to know what you wish you knew more about, or if you want us to go into a little more detail about any of the topics, please go ahead and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and you can go ahead and ask in the review or send us a Facebook message on our page. Just reach out to us. We'd love to answer your questions.
All right. Well, that wraps us up for this week. Thank you for tuning in. Join our Facebook group. It's called CashFlow Hacks. And follow our Facebook page, CQ Consulting Services, and our YouTube channel, Instagram page, LinkedIn, Twitter. Subscribe. Give us a like. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. You know what? Remember, sharing is caring, and who do you know that might need this information? Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week to talk about some of the most common pitfalls to financial freedom. And we will, remember, our goal is to help you flip that script on the financial industry.